They're a little glossy.
I am a little glossy. We do have Arkansas going on today.
And we've got a nice spring day in the middle of August for 104 degrees for Havasu.
That's
Nice.
pretty fucking nice. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I
That
got
is
that when
really
I was
nice.
there.
I was gonna say me and Jesus were standing outside yesterday, and it was just like he's like, God, I love this weather. I'm like, this is actually nice, and I'm in a dark colored shirt. Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I got back what, like a week ago? 2 weeks ago now?
on the 4th, I think
On the
it was, you
4th?
came you got home. Yeah, because you left the 3rd.
Yeah, I'm like, I I went to Arizona for 2 weeks, and if you guys were paying attention to social media stuff, my computer shot shit. But on the way over there, I woke up that morning and my dad was going to take me over to one of the big cities around here to get a rental car. And I looked at him dead in the eyes and I went, "Oh, I got a weird feeling I'm going to get a red sports car." He goes, "Nah, they're putting you in a Jetta. They're not going to do that to you. No, 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 no,
That's what
no."
I paid for. I went, you can drive a little piece of shit all the way across the country. You'll be fine, honey.
And then I get there and I see a red Dodge Charger in the parking lot. And I go, "Son of a bitch, that's mine." He's like, "They're not going to give you that one. You paid for a Jetta. You're not getting a Charger." Go inside to get everything squared away for this car. She looks at me and she goes, "So I got you in the Dodge Charger out front?" I'm like, I looked at my dad and did a,
Yeah.
"Who's right?" So
Yeah. You suck.
all the way over, I drove a red Dodge Charger. And when I stopped for the first evening in Shamrock, Texas, I
Yep.
had 3 officers, 3 state patrolmen, which I'm not sure if they listen or not because I did leave them one of my cards. I had 3 state patrolmen pull out behind me and then run like a blockade style with me. So I had one behind me, I had one next to me, and I had one in front of me. And I'm just sitting there going, "What the fuck did I do wrong? I'm not speeding. I'm
Yeah.
not speeding. I know I'm not fucking speeding.
She's too poor for this car.
I'm too poor for this car." I literally take the off ramp and they all come off behind me and they decide that they're gonna follow me to the Taco Bell. So I park and I get out of my car and they're all laughing and they're like, "Did we scare you?" I'm like, "A little bit. A little fucking bit."
What do you have to be afraid of, Katie? You weren't carrying anything dangerous with
No,
you.
I wasn't, but at the same time I'm sitting there like, "What the fuck did I do wrong? What probable cause bullshit am I about to get hit on because I'm driving a red sports car?" Uh
Yeah, well, you could have just the opposite of me. If a guy goes screaming past you into Arkansas, and I'm like, see the cops coming out from behind me, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta watch something special. No, fuckers pulled me over for doing under the speed limit. First time in my life I was not speeding.
I was gonna say, I'm like, that's like a fucking needle in a haystack. You should have went and bought a lottery ticket after that shit
I
because
really should have when I stopped for
you
gas
have a
because, yeah,
damn
that,
lead foot.
you know what? Because as soon as she showed up in that car, I'm like, bitch, give me the keys. We're going for a ride.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
scared the hell out of me.
Well, of course. When we test drove one, I about made the sales dude, puke. We made him ride in the back seat, and I told Dad, I said, "Ooh, this thing corners great." The guy goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, if I really got on it," he says, "Go ahead." I said, "No, I'll make you throw up." He goes, "Oh no, I've never had that problem. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Go ahead and do it." And I looked at your dad, and your dad's like, "Oh Jesus, we're in for a ride," and we were. And we got done, and I got out, and he looked at me, and goes, "Yeah, I don't want to ever say that again."
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But no, I definitely fell in love with the Dodge Charger. It was an absolutely amazing car to drive. It was so comfortable. I did not have a backache when I got to Arizona. I wasn't sore other than just like the stiffness that you get from sitting for too long. But it was fucking chef's kiss luxury vehicle to drive in. Your Hyundai on the way back sucked ass in comparison.
She's older too. She's a
I'm like,
2011. But on the plus side, man, you could go from literally dead center of Lake Havasu on past Grants, New Mexico before you ever need to fill up.
yeah, which the gas mileage, honestly, between the Hyundai and the Charger was very similar because I did not have to
Yeah.
fill up a whole lot with the Charger.
I was going to say, my car, I was like, and that was the sad thing when I drove out for CrimeCon. The first time I came out by myself, I was in my truck. And I know with him, he loves his gas.
Mm-hmm.
But the little Hyundai driving it, I'm like, I'm getting nodding off because I haven't had to get out of the vehicle and do the lap around it and wash windows and all that kind of stuff every 200 and some odd miles. So, like, that was a really long drive by myself in that car. It wasn't painful, it was just, I don't have anything to do. I'm used to doing shit.
Yeah.
It's like, no. But yeah, so yeah, she had to go back, take our car back to Arkansas for her dad.
Oh my God.
So,
And it was
yeah.
a great drive up until it starts getting dark and I was going through the mountain areas of Arkansas because I decided to take the fucking 9. Should have just gone through Conway because I knew that one. I know what I should expect on that one. It takes me out
Yeah, but
on
it was
this.
pretty.
Oh, it was gorgeous up until it took me out into ding 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 fucking territory, okay? Fuck a duck. I went on twisty, curvy, perfectly paved roads to a county road that slowly started to degrade. I'm like, uh-oh, am I on somebody's property? And then it went to dirt. I'm like, I need a safety buddy. So I called
I
my
need my
mom.
mommy. She sent me a glimpse so that I could literally follow her on the computer as she was driving. And I'm like, no, dude, you're good. You're getting close. I said, you're gonna come out on out by Franklin. She goes, where the fuck is Franklin? And I'm like, that road that you kind of go over towards Calico Rock when you leave our area. She's like, I said, you're just gonna come to a stop sign, Katie. Take a right at this point. You're gonna be back on paved roads. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm watching you drive, Caitlin. I know where you're at. You're good.
I'm like, I'm freaking out because it's just dirt road and grass taller than the fucking car itself. And I'm just in this like corridor and it's dark and I've got a fucking ups driver
Dark, I'm
behind
scared.
me.
I'm just
I
yeah.
got an ups driver behind me that's just like fucking tailgating my ass. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just pull over and let him pass. And I like tried to pull over and he was not having it. It was like, nope, you gotta go, miss. You gotta go. So now I'm like thinking, is it really an ups driver or is it the Jeepers Creepers motherfucker waiting to skin me? So
God.
I'm
This
like,
is just, and this is her by herself. Now imagine putting the two of us in a car for a road trip. Oh my God.
so yeah, I'm like, I get down the road. I finally get on another one. I think it went from like 61 to 60 County Road. And I took my right at the stop sign and I recall my mom and it drops the call again because I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. And out in the middle of the road is a fucking armadillo. And it's the only one I've ever seen alive in fucking Arkansas. And guess what? My headlights hit it. It like hunkered up, looked around, kind of did this panicked like back and forth thing, and they went, I'm gonna go back and hit my back tire. I'm like, ah!
So she squashed your first armadillo.
Oh my god.
Oh
It's the
Lord.
only one I've ever seen alive.
I know. She kept asking when we were there last year. It was like, I want to see a live armadillo. And it's like, we did see one, but you weren't paying attention because he was going in the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, damn it, I missed that. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, at least it wasn't like the other night when I came out of here at like 2 in the morning, just trying to finish doing this case, doing this work. I walk outside, no glasses on, they're up on my forehead, and I see a white cat. I'm like, who are you? And then it looks at me and it's got this long nose and it just reaches into the cat food bowl and like scurries away with its little rat tail. It was a possum. I was like 2 feet away from a possum and he just kind of looked at me like, I'm just going to take the rest of this and go.
We good. Peace out, baby. Now it could be worse. She could be your Auntie Yin, who, when my brother came home from work one day, she says, I found a bald cat. And he says, a what? And she says, this cat has no hair on its tail. And he's going, oh, sweet baby Jesus, what does she get? She said he was a little angry too. And he went out and looked in a box, and it was this possum wrapped up in a freaking blanket that she had got. She thought it was a cat. He's like, "Oh, baby, no, 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 this is not a kitty cat. No, we're not keeping this."
Can I keep it? Oh, I
That's
just
what she
like
was doing.
it was a big fucking possum, and it just looked at
Oh,
me
they are
like,
big.
like we like had a stare off for a solid minute because I was just coming to terms that I'm like, there's a possum here, and it's looking
I've
at me
seen my
like
first possum.
there's a human still awake.
Oh God. Oh, nature. Nature is fun. We got a lot of nature in Arkansas.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, I thought I was gonna have to do a hay bear the other night because I heard it off in the woods. I'm like, I don't think he's coming this way. I think we're good, but keeping my eye out while I'm trying to like sit outside and de-stress. Well, if we're ready to get started, I'm pretty sure, even though I'm hoping it won't be, this is probably going to be a two-parter, which means that this first episode will drop tomorrow and then the next one will drop next Friday. And I'm so sorry for splitting you guys up on this one, but it was a lot of work. So while we
I don't have
understand,
any alcohol yet.
you might want to go get yourself a glass of wine. It's a rough case. So, while we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. This story is not meant to open old wounds or cause further emotional trauma to those involved. We remind you, please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The case discussed in this podcast today may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised. As far as trigger warnings go, I'm going to try to give heads up before they actually happen, but we are going to be talking about a missing minor, some domestic violence, and there will also be talk of drug overdose as well. And if you are unfamiliar with our sites through Google Sites, we also have references and resources out there if you may be struggling with any of these types of problems.
Oh, I'm buckled up.
Okay.
Let's do this.
So on the morning of May 3rd of 2002, Alexis Patterson got into a fight with her mother, Ayanna Patterson, before school as she didn't complete her homework the night before. And according to another podcast that I was listening to just briefly, it sounds like she didn't necessarily not complete her homework. It just wasn't completed the way that it needed to be, because her teacher had basically told her parents, like, she's completing the assignments and getting all the right answers, but the problem is that she is not reading through the directions.
Sounds
So,
familiar.
yeah, I'm like, hi.
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 Katie.
So,
Hi.
when the morning came for her to go to school, it sounds like her stepfather asked her, like, did you read the assignment? And she said yes. To which he asked her again, did you read the assignment? And she said yes. And he basically handed her the paper and said, read it to me. And she couldn't. To which she gets in trouble for basically lying to her parents that she read the assignment when she didn't. And therefore, the cupcakes that she had been planning to take to her school that day for her class's snack time or snack day were declined. So she's losing that privilege because you lied to us.
How old is this little girl?
She's about 7.
Jeez Louise.
So, due to her homework not being completed the way that it was directed to be, her mother did not allow her to bring cupcakes with her to school that day, stating later that Alexis had fire in her eyes during this argument. At around 7:40 a.m., Alexis left the school with Laron Borgias, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. I tried to find a pronunciation, but it was not coming through. But Laron is her stepfather, and they walked down to the crossing guard at the corner between their home and the school. So High Mount School was about a half a block away from their home, which was at the 2200th block of North 49th Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So from map videos and maps of this area. It's literally less than 240 some steps from her home to the school. Like, it's a
Okay.
short walk around the corner. Now, Laurent leaves Alexis with the crossing guard before he returns home. Alexis had 2 French braids pulled back into a ponytail, according to some reports, and was last seen wearing a red-gray hooded jacket, light jeans, a purple shirt, and tennis shoes. When Alexis didn't return home at 2:50 that Friday afternoon of May 3rd, Ayana became concerned, and when 3 p.m. rolled around, Ayana ran to the school panicked. Ayana later told USA Today, "That's when I found out that my baby never made it. She never made it to school." The school told Ayana that Alexis had not made it into class that day, and immediately Ayana reports her missing. That Saturday, May 4th, police began to interview Alexis's neighbors and classmates for any information on the missing child.
She was your age.
She is, yeah.
I would have never let you walk home from school by yourself. I would
Well,
have never dropped
my
you off at the
presumption
crossing
is
guard.
that she had other kids with her when she would walk home, but I'm not entirely sure.
Say if not, man, I was always nervous at the bus stop if you guys weren't coming up the hill at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That Saturday, May 4th, police began to interview Alexis's neighbors and classmates for any information on the missing girl. They discovered that 2 weeks prior to Alexis's disappearance, parents at the school received a letter warning them of a man who was attempting to abduct a young boy. According to teachers as well, 1 week prior to Alexis disappearing, she had been seen talking to a random lady outside of the school. Ayana spoke to Alexis about the incident and reminded her not to be talking with strangers. 2 days later, that same lady was seen outside the school again, attempting to talk to Alexis. On the morning of her disappearance, Laurent's boy, Alexis's stepbrother, told police that Alexis got a whooping from Ayana. It was because she pretended not to know how to put her socks on, to which she did acknowledge later that she lied to detectives about this to begin with, at first saying that she didn't whoop her daughter or do anything, but 4 days later, Ayana comes out saying, "I probably popped her that morning, and then I popped her," which, to elaborate on, states that it was in reference to a hit or spank in a disciplinary action.
right.
Of get your shit together, stop acting up. So Laurent told police that he and his son walked Alexis to the corner between their home and the schoolyard and left her with the crossing guard, who, according to records, was a 5th grader. It's not even an adult doing the crossing guard stuff. It is a 5th grader.
Oh my God, why are you allowing other children to supervise your child? Ugh, Jesus.
So after this, Laurent stated that he drove his son to his bus stop, to which his son stated that didn't happen, and that his father actually had driven him to school that day, which the bus driver was able to account for, stating that the boy wasn't on the bus that day.
So now the dad's lying about what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Should know kids are fucking honest to a point, kind of like yoga pants and drunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were also reports made that Alexis had been seen crying on the playground at school, perhaps still upset about not being able to bring the cupcakes with her to class that day. One 6th grade student told police that she'd seen Alexis on the school steps with her head down, and when she asked Alexis what was wrong, she mentioned the cupcakes, and the older girl offered to buy her one from the store. The 6th grader recalls Alexis replying with, "I want to get my own," before she stood up and walked out of the schoolyard.
Ooh.
At around 9:37 a.m., about an hour or two after Laurent stated that he'd left Alexis with the crossing guard, there was a call that was made from Ayana's phone to a family service department at St. Michael's Hospital. The hospital has no record of Ayana talking with anyone, and when police asked about the call, she stated that her new baby's pediatrician practiced out of the department, and she was calling for advice on her baby coughing. So Nothing too out of the ordinary. Like if you have a baby that's got a cough, just quick question type of thing.
Well, yeah, but you would still have some record from the doctor's office that she did call.
Yeah. However, they put her on a long hold and eventually she got tired of waiting and hung up.
Eh.
That afternoon, a neighbor and her sister stopped off to see Ayana and the baby, and the neighbor told police that she had barely let them into the house and rushed them to the back porch to smoke. The neighbor then made mention of how Ayana stated she'd given Alexis a real bad whooping the night before. Now, you may be wondering, on the opposite side of things, from like the school perspective, of why nobody at the school contacted Alexis's family when she did not show up for class.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because they would, if I forgot to call you in or write a note and send with you or something like that, they would always call. And this is the same date and time frame that you would have been in school. So they always double checked.
So, Milwaukee Public Schools stated that there was a policy in place for notifying parents or guardians at the end of the second day a child misses school.
Oh, yeah, well, ours evidently weren't that. Ours were way, way better at that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, if you were even an hour or so late and I had forgotten to call, they would call to check.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
this is a policy that Superintendent Spence Court defended, stating that there are enough absences in Milwaukee schools each day. Her not showing up may not have raised any red flags.
I can kind of understand that.
I can understand that, but at the same time, if kids were seeing her on the playground and stuff, and then teachers doing roll call and they go, Alexis Patterson, and somebody goes, oh, I saw her outside, but she's not in here.
Exactly.
That
Where the
should
hell is
raise a red flag. Where the hell is she then?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Huge. Huge.
So, Linnea Ramirez, whose daughter is half sisters with Alexis, made the comment to media that it makes me angry. This being a neighborhood school and all, that they didn't just send somebody half a block over here to knock on the door and check on Lexi.
Exactly. It's like it's within walking distance. One of the front office people could have jogged over and seen what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to call, I'm sitting here going, thank God we had the ladies at your school when you were in elementary school that were on top of everything.
They were always on top of stuff, because I remember even during 9/11, because everybody was shocked.
Yeah, they called me immediately to check and make sure. And it was like, yeah, she's here.
So, according to the police chief, Arthur, I'm out of practice. Yeah. According to police chief Arthur Jones, due to the circumstances that happened that morning, investigators began working under the theory that Alexis is a runaway and purposely missed school that Friday. However, her family insists that she would never leave willingly by herself or with a stranger.
Well, they also didn't think she'd talk to strangers, and they were wrong about that.
So, on May 5th of 2002, police conducted a grid search of the area around Alexis's home and the school, as well as re-interviewed her classmates, teachers, and parents. Flyers were passed out, and local news stations were alerted of Alexis's disappearance at this time as well. So, students later reported to police that there was a red truck parked outside for about a week in the school's parking lot or a nearby lot. It was a late model GMC sports utility vehicle with tinted windows. They stated that it didn't drop anyone off or pick anyone up, but after Alexis disappeared, the truck stopped showing up.
Ooh. See, and people give me shit for knowing whose car belongs to who and what all, and it's like, that's just always been me. I don't. I very rarely. If I know you, I usually know exactly what you drive. So.
There was also a report that a dark blue SUV had been seen speeding away from that area that Alexis was last seen in, and around the time that she was last seen as well. On May 6th of 2002, Kenya Campbell, Alexis's biological father, was released from prison. He was facing charges for driving with a revoked license and posted a $100 bond 2 days prior to Alexis's disappearance. And Kenya ultimately comes out and joins the search for his daughter and cooperates with investigators entirely regarding the investigation.
Okay. As any father should do, but yeah.
Absolutely. The search then intensifies as law enforcement begins to cover an area between West Menachie Avenue. I'm so sorry if any of this becomes gibberish and mispronounced. So just bear with me. So it was West Menachie Avenue and West Vine Street, as well as North 16th and North 60th Street. Authorities also searched the Washington Park Lagoon area using helicopters, boats, water divers, and land searchers. In a total of 41 police officers being involved, 7 police supervisors, several sheriff's deputies, and any willing Milwaukee residents to basically man this search.
Home the area. Yeah.
The question that absolutely haunts the family, though, at this point is how does a child who was seen by other children and at least one other adult outside of LaRon vanish without a trace?
I'm going to go with the stranger she was talking to that they didn't think she was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with a network of nearby strong family and friends wearing badges and handing out flyers with Alexis's picture, contact information, and the bold question, "Have you seen my baby?" They are actively searching and pursuing answers. And honest to God, it's amazing what was going on here because there is a steady flow of information between volunteers and police officers.
Ooh,
So they are
that's
keeping good contact with each other, which does not
that
always
is
happen.
exactly.
That's
I was gonna say that's
rare.
what you want to happen, which rarely does
Hmm.
happen. Mm-hmm.
So Ricky Thomas, Alexis's uncle, recalls a phone call that they received stating they should check out a warehouse at 32nd and Atkinson. The caller stated someone overnight heard a child's voice saying, "Mama, help me. Mama, help me."
Oh,
So Ricky goes that way immediately and he tries to get into the warehouse, but he's unable to. So when they're eventually able to get into this warehouse and search it clean, nothing comes of this lead. Which unfortunately, I kind of sit back on the cynical side of this may have been some sick motherfucker that's just trying to screw with you because that
could be.
happens a lot with missing persons cases and it fucking blows.
Yep. There are some twisted and demented people out there that get their
Hmm.
jollies off on the weirdest things.
Exactly. So, Anthony Little, another uncle, stated that a reputable neighbor, someone who was in the neighborhood pretty regularly, knew the kids, probably had kids of their own playing with the other children. So, it's basically like your small neighborhood, and like these are
Right.
all friends. They come out and play. We keep an eye on them because we're neighborhood watching the children, make sure nothing bad
Exactly.
happens.
Yep.
So this neighbor insisted that she had seen Alexis near North 50th Street and West Garfield Avenue, a block away from school at 4:30 p.m. on Friday.
So they think she was still like she had ditched school and was just hanging around.
Mm-hmm. Which was really weird
And
because this isn't the only reported sighting of her that afternoon.
whoa.
Classmates, when they were re-asked about Alexis, said that she was seen later in the school grounds around 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So
What the hell?
it's really strange because it's like you've got, and unfortunately because kids are so young and their memories can be very impressionable on certain things, it's like, is this 100%
Right,
truth?
right. Yeah.
So
But still it's like
that is weird that it's like she vanishes at like 7:45 and then magically reappears at like 3 p.m, 4:30, and 5 p.m. So it's
I'm
like,
wondering
what
if
the
they
fuck's going on?
may have had their days wrong, that the kids were thinking, yeah, we just saw her yesterday, but it was
Hmm.
the day before, because you used to do that a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it could have been something as simple as that, or it could have been as sinister.
exactly. So on May 8th, police decide it's time for a polygraph test of the parents, Ayana and
Yay.
LaRon, to see basically if there's any deception. LaRon is ultimately reluctant to take the polygraph at first, but he agrees to
Hmm.
take it. and it's unclear which question caused it, but he did fail the polygraph test.
Ooh.
Ayana, on the other hand, took the polygraph and passed. Laron later
Interesting.
stated that he didn't believe that he actually failed his test because if he had, he wouldn't be free to leave. Which, we're going to pause here briefly and have a little educational note. Under Fry v. United States, the court case, polygraphs are not admissible in court
Admissible.
I said admissible in court.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They're not
Oh,
admissible.
I
They're
thought
just
you were
used as a piece.
I thought
No,
you were
they're
correcting me. I'm like, they're not admissible in
nope,
court as evidence.
nope, they are not.
So, at most, from my education and experiences, it's really just to get a feel if somebody is being deceptive to investigators so they can target basically back in on that person and see what the fuck's going on.
And do a deeper dive, a more intensive interview. Yeah, exactly.
So, as a result of this, police began to focus on Laron's previous criminal acts. Laron had a criminal record which included his involvement in a bank robbery in 1994 as the getaway driver. During this, there's a altercation between Laron's partner, Brooke Tilgargo Ship III, and Glendale officer Ronald Hedbay, which resulted in the officer being shot and killed. So, Laron was granted immunity from prosecution in exchange for his testimony against Brooke, who was sentenced to life in prison.
Mm.
Now, on May 9th, 1 week after Alexis vanished, more than 100 local volunteers organized a bike and foot search of the area. All of them wearing t-shirts with the words Operation Lap on them. Operation Locate Alexis Patterson.
Okay.
The group organized in front of Alexis's home and searched the surrounding areas. During this time as well, family members began to speak out about the misdirection of the investigation, focusing too much on the family and not focusing on finding this little girl.
Mm.
On May 11th, Alexis is featured on America's Most Wanted, which brings in several new leads to police. However, these leads ultimately lead to dead ends. And Alexis's case becomes one of Milwaukee Police Department's biggest missing persons cases the department's ever seen in its history.
Wow.
On May 13th, Alexis's case was reclassified from a missing persons investigation to a criminal investigation, which means that they're now believing that foul play has been involved in her disappearance.
Oh, baby.
Around 2 weeks after Alexis went missing, FBI behavioral analysts concluded she was likely the victim of an emotional-based homicide at the hands of her mother, Ayana, or possibly her stepfather, Laron, or maybe even both. They
But
also...
the mom passed with flying colors on the
Yeah.
polygraph. Wouldn't that usually be an indicator?
That would definitely be an indicator for me, unless, for instance, and I'm not to say that Ayana is a sociopath or anything like that, but sociopaths tend to have a higher probability of passing the polygraph because they believe in their heart of hearts what they're saying is true, even if it's not,
Ooh, interesting.
which is really weird.
Another fun fact from Katie.
Another little fun fact from Katie. So they also noted the possibility, but the less likely idea, that Alexis had been a victim of a possible neighbor. Now, the analyst at the FBI noted numerous discrepancies in Ayana's and Laron's statements to law enforcement, friends, media, and including the times that they said that they had met with like people that day of Alexis's disappearance, like varying. With that, FBI recommended that the Milwaukee police conduct a forensic analysis. Cadaver dogs, during which searched the premises of Laron's vehicle and the home. And the dog made 2 positive odor alerts.
Ooh.
The first was in the basement of the family home, and the second was in the back seat of the passenger side of the driver's like floorboard, just below
So it was
it.
a car or a pickup?
It was in a car. Like,
Okay,
if
so
I
it was
remember
behind the
correctly, it
driver's
was
seat.
a Cadillac.
Okay.
So,
So it was behind the driver's seat.
mm-hmm. back
Okay.
passenger seat behind the driver's seat on the floor area.
Mm-hmm.
Investigators sprayed the areas with luminol, which is a blood indicator, but can also work with other substances as an indicator test when luminol reacts with hemoglobin or anything that has a similar construct of hemoglobin. It will fluoresce a bright blue under ultraviolet light. And when they did this, there were traces of blood and other substances, including bleach.
Ooh, naughty, naughty.
Now, police did swab these illuminated spots, and please remember that luminol is a indicator test. It is not an
But
identificator. It does
but
not
isn't it
identify.
also, doesn't it degrade DNA
It
also?
does degrade DNA also, which if you've watched Forensics Files, there's like a good portion in there that they're using luminol on fucking everything, and then they
Yep.
just stop. Because it's like,
Because yeah,
yeah, no, you can't do that.
again, they used to use plastic bags too, and now it's like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't use those either.
Yeah.
So
So police did swab these illuminated spots, and a lab test was done. And basically, they're trying to see if there's any positive result of human blood being present. So
mm-hmm.
there was no positive result, meaning that it was what I would presume to be a false positive from the luminol's point of view. And with
Could have possibly been animal.
it could have possibly been animal. It could have possibly been something else with a high
Mm-hmm.
like oxidizing rate. So the hematological test, which would be like an immune test that they do to see if it's human or non-human, what I would presume is what that lab was doing, came back negative.
Okay.
So on May 28th of 2002, a blatantly racist poster was hung up outside of the Black Holocaust Museum on cars and windows with the question of why any white person should care about the disappearance of Alexis Patterson. If black people think white people should be concerned about Alexis, they are dreadfully mistaken.
Rude.
And that's not
Uncalled for.
all that was on there, but that's all that the media will state. On May 29th of 2002, at around 4:45 a.m., Brian T. Werner turned himself into police, claiming he'd been using Alexis to spread his hateful ideologies. Brian was well known amongst his associates for his hate of the African American community, and he was taken in on the recommended charges of disorderly conduct, a unlisted misdemeanor charge, and the Milwaukee Police Department recommended hate crimes charges for this.
So
Additionally,
when you say he was using her, it was basically he wasn't using physically using her. He was using her name
her
and her
name and
picture to
her
forward
image.
his
Yeah.
hate. Okay. Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
additionally, given the nature of this crime and these acts, and Alexis being a 7-year-old girl targeted on hate speech, they're curious if Brian has any further knowledge on Alexis's disappearance.
No, absolutely. I would be too.
So, Brian stated that he considered himself a productive and upstanding citizen. However, he does have charges of felony burglary, which he was convicted for in 1998. And he was also fined in 1997 for carrying a concealed weapon into the village of Mukwango.
How about you do? Let's pronounce that
Let's
one.
pronounce that one real quick. Pronouncenames.com.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear it say it too.
Hold on, let me get it on my phone so we can all relish in what the hell this monstrosity is.
I was gonna say
Pronounce.
because your grandmother was from Wauwatosa.
It helps if I have my volume up.
Yeah, it does.
Mukwango.
Well, that's easier than what you were trying to say.
I looked at it and I fucking stumbled hard. I'm sorry. So, in 1987,
Go.
he was fined for carrying a concealed weapon into the village of Mukwango, where police discovered he had a 4-inch knife in his front pocket.
That was his concealed weapon.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay.
presuming he got possibly arrested or searched on other charges. And they went, "Do you have a weapon on you?" And he went, "No, no, I don't." And they're like, "You're going to be in trouble if you don't tell us about this." And when they searched him, he had something.
Okay.
So I'm going to presume that's probably what happened.
I was gonna say, please don't ever let them pat down the tatas on me because they're gonna be surprised.
So now, given the nature of what happened, it's really heartbreaking to say this, but there is no crime committed according to the prosecutor. The
No
deputy,
crime.
in regards to the flyers and the racist statements made regarding Alexis, there is no crime committed according to the
Okay, I thought they were
prosecutor.
already having a result of her disappearance. I'm like,
No.
how the fuck did they go from
No,
she's
no, no,
missing
no, no,
to
no,
there's
no.
no crime
It's
involved?
it's
Okay,
the
sorry.
racist, blatantly racist
Okay,
flyer droplings.
I'm caught up now. Caught up now.
So the deputy district attorney, one John N. Redden, stated, "The content of these flyers are as offensive as I have ever seen. It's horribly racist, obscene, vulgar, hateful, cruel, vicious, inflammatory, and obnoxious to an extreme.
And they didn't charge him for anything.
However, due to the First Amendment, nothing could legally be done."
Which, again, it is, I hate to say it, hate is not covered by
Law.
anything like that. It is still considered a free speech, which,
Mhm.
even if it's wrong, it's still free speech.
Exactly.
It's one of those things you just kind of have to turn a blind eye to or beat the piss out of somebody for. Your call.
Your call. So on June 3rd, a candlelight vigil was held for Alexis. Police also conducted a search of a nearby wooded area for Alexis, but no information was uncovered. Milwaukee County Sheriff's Captain Richard Schmidt stated to Ayanna that white, black, different religions, we are all trying to find your daughter. And
Absolutely.
at this
Baby.
time, roughly $2,000 had been raised for reward money. And honestly, the way that I picture him coming up to Ayanna is during the candlelight vigil to say that, just to ground her because of all the shit that had happened previously with those racist flyers. And I could not imagine
I was
being
gonna
on
say,
that side and having my baby's face used for hate.
yeah, exactly. There is no place for children are innocent regardless of race, color,
Mm-hmm.
sexual orientation, anything like that. Children are innocent. Ugh, God.
Then on June 5th of 2002, the national news media flocked to Salt Lake City, Utah, to tell the story of the national case of Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped from her multi-million-dollar home at knife point when her sister woke up and caught the whole thing.
I kind of remember that.
So,
Not the Elizabeth Smart. I just remember now when you say that they coincided. I kind of remember that now.
Elizabeth Smart's case begins to gain national coverage, highlighting the missing white girl, and a major Nexus search was performed around the same time, with articles retaining to Alexis that were available. There were only 67 stories, while Elizabeth had garnered over 400.
Yeah.
So you can see that
That
there's discrepancy
it's
there, and it's
absolutely.
horrible.
It is. And the same thing for missing and indigenous women and children and any other.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about this in the CrimeCon coverage, but we'll go over it again. But with missing white women syndrome is the idea that there is a perfect victim. It is the idea that white women who meet the certain quality and standards of that perfect victim will get more media coverage than those who do not. So your minority cases get pushed to the back burner and they don't get that coverage that they deserve just as much as somebody else does. And I hate the term missing white women syndrome because in my heart of hearts, I believe everybody deserves that coverage. And it shouldn't just be one race over another. It's unfortunate that it is, but I've said it once before, I'll say it again. they all matter or nobody does.
Exactly. Now, I do have a question for you before we get off this topic,
Mm-hmm.
revolving with, do you think female missing persons get more coverage, regardless of color or creed or anything like that, than the male ones?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Because
that's
men don't
absolutely
get
bullshit too.
nearly as much as women do.
Well, because men are seen as, I'm
They're
strong, I can take
strong, they're
care of
brawny, they can take
myself,
care of
and
themselves. It's one of those things that you look at those types of cases and you look at who's getting the national like media coverage, and even just looking back through like watching news media as a kid and then watching it as an adult, most of those cases of missing persons are female that are covered on the news. They don't really talk about the men,
exactly.
and it still
And I've been
happens.
noticing NECMEC is putting out way more on guys nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
because I've been reposting them on Spattered and all that kind of stuff, and it's like I'm starting to see more of color and of the
NECMEC
male.
is really good about that though,
Yeah,
and they
but I've
try
just
to
noticed
line up
lately
when they're
it's been
posting profiles for the
anniversaries.
days for their
Yeah,
anniversaries.
the
NECMEC is
anniversaries of the missing.
absolutely amazing. They are an amazing
Yeah,
source.
yeah. So if you follow the Spattered profile, I usually try, if I see one pop up, especially if it's in, I'm guilty of doing it in my general area, which is the Arizona, California, New Mexico, Phoenix, Colorado, Four Corners type of
Arkansas.
thing. Well, and then yeah, I tried to get Arkansas, Tennessee, and stuff like that. We should really start grabbing them all, but because we are kind of local right now,
Hmm.
I just grab the ones that are basically local to us. So,
Exactly. But unfortunately, this would lead Alexis's case to gain less coverage. And by June 10th, the mobile command unit that was outside of Alexis's neighborhood was moved to a nearby station.
uh,
Captain Brian O'Keefe of the Milwaukee Police Department stated, "It's been a little over 5 weeks. We have not diminished our efforts." On June 11th of 2002, law enforcement released surveillance tape of Alexis and her mom at a drugstore the evening prior to her disappearance, hoping that it would generate leads or tips. So, the Jewel Osco video showed Alexis in the same jacket she was wearing the day that she disappeared, and her stepbrother pushing a grocery cart, basically.
okay.
A media interview regarding Alexis was done around June 20th of 2002. However, when the media approached the police department, the spokesman stated that no one could comment on the status of Alexis Patterson's case. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, who is assisting with the investigation, noted when asked the same question about the case that every avenue and every lead is being investigated, but they did not elaborate beyond that. At this time,
Hmm.
the volunteer group also began to dwindle, and there are only about 8 full time volunteers left working the case.
Sad to say, I kind of get it, because there are
It's
others that are out
been
there missing
months,
immediately too. Yeah,
and it's like
resources
you
are
can
getting
only
exhausted.
go so far before your
Yep,
resources are exhausted.
yep.
So, on August 1st of 2002, the creator of a comic book states that he plans to feature Alexis. So, Alonzo Washington, the creator of the black superhero Omega Man, decided that within his comic series that he released bi-monthly, he would feature profiles of missing black children to help raise awareness for the cases that don't receive the same media attention as others,
Well, good for him.
which is an absolutely brilliant fucking idea because he even states like we're basically targeting to try to get coverage for these kids, and what better way than to put it in a comic book that goes to another kid and then they tell their parents about it because they're
I
excited
was gonna
about
say
this
it's kind of like
superhero.
the old thing that they used to run on the milk cartons,
Mm-hmm.
missing kids' pictures on the milk cartons and stuff.
Yeah,
It's like something that's every day. You're seeing it every day. You use it every day. You read it every day. There it
mm-hmm.
is. It's in your face.
Yep.
They need to bring that back.
I do miss seeing that. Yeah.
I do too.
So when the news held a conference with Alonzo and the family, LaRon asked for more coverage on Alexis's case, stating, "You guys are the ones with the power to help us. We need your help." On August 12th of 2002, the police department dive team was given a tip from a local TV station that they had received regarding that Alexis might be there.
Oh no.
The team searched the river for Alexis, and there was no sign of her or evidence to suggest that she had been there. However, they did state that they did find several other key pieces of information, and it didn't necessarily say that it was evidence to her case or something else going on.
Okay.
So they found something when they were doing this. I'm not entirely sure if it was pertaining to Alexis's case or something else going on in the wider metropolis area.
Right.
On September 10th of 2002, Police Chief Arthur Jones stated, "It's frustrating because you hope against hope that she's still alive, and someone is simply caring for her. But experience says that's probably not the case." Meaning that based off of his experience, he now believes that Alexis is dead.
I would say so too. But again, if you look at Elizabeth Smart's case,
she came back out of the woodwork and everybody went, "What the fuck?
What? Yeah, exactly. Where the hell you been?
Where have you been?" So the family states that at this time, they don't believe that Alexis is dead, but that somebody has her. A private investigator who's heading the group of volunteers also shared that Alexis's case had been shared with other missing children's groups online. And the investigator also made mention of how possible sightings of Alexis came in just too late to search for the lead. So Chief Arthur Jones made mention that there is a lack of credible witnesses, being most of the witnesses were classmates and a crossing guard attendant who sees 100 kids a day and is a child themselves. At this point, Alexis's name is being kept out of national media coverage, despite there being coverage for several other missing white females.
Why?
Police Chief Arthur Jones states that Alexis's case was absolutely treated differently than other missing girls. And he goes on to state how it's basically the media having a bias racially.
Oh, they're surprised.
Oh, big surprise.
I was going to say, oh, don't get me started on the media. It's almost as bad as the Alphabet Boys.
I'm going to go ahead and end that here for today. I know it's not like a huge cliffhanger or anything, but we're going to get into the rest of Alexis's story next week. And until then, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the information for her case. So Alexis Patterson is a female. Her ethnicity is African American. Her height is 3 foot 8 inches tall. Her weight was 42 pounds. Her hair is brown. Her hair description is just below shoulder length. At the time of her disappearance, she had 2 French braids, front to back, one on each side of her head, combined into one ponytail in the back. There were no beads or distinguishing hair ornaments in her hair at the time of her disappearance. Her eye color is brown. The last date of contact was May 3rd, 2002. She is missing from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Her age at the time of her disappearance was 7 years old. Her age currently, at the time of the recording of this episode, is 29. Alexis has a scar under her right eye and a bump on her left pinky finger. She was last seen wearing a red hooded jacket with gray stripes, a purple shirt, a light wash set of blue jeans, and a pair of white Nike tennis shoes. Alexis's NamUs profile number is MP3071. And her NCMEC number is 934881. If you or anyone you know has any information related to the disappearance of Alexis Patterson, you are asked to contact the Milwaukee Police Department at 414-935-7405. That number again is 414-935-7405. or you can call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's hotline at 800-843-5678. That number again is 800-843-5678. Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.